the Chi-Town experience on the flight. Let me go tune in to Keek on the mic. He gon' make sure we get our news and highlights. When you get on YouTube, you better hit the like.
After Ryan Poles' big spending on day one of NFL free agency, ESPN/Chicago Bears insider Courtney Cronin gives us an update on where she believes the Chicago Bears are leaning with the number 10 overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. As always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. So, Bears fans, what a day for Ryan Poles, Ben Johnson, and the Chicago Bears as they completely revamped the trenches on both the offensive line and the defensive line on day one of free agency. Of course, landing center Drew Dahlman, landing edge rusher Dayo Odeyingbo, of course, also landing defensive tackle Grady Jarrett, along with their trades of Joe Thuney and Jonah Jackson. So now the conversation is this. Of course, Ryan Poles and the Bears did a very good job of bolstering the interior of their offensive line, which was a main focus going into this offseason. And then, of course, adding to the defensive line as well. So now the main focus is, where are the Chicago Bears now looking at with the number 10 overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft? And now with all these moves bolstering both the offensive line and defensive line, there's been a lot of conversations about the Chicago Bears possibly going Ashton Jeanty, running back out of Boise State, maybe tight end Tyler Warren out of Penn State with that number 10 overall pick. But a lot of people are also considering maybe the Chicago Bears could be looking somewhere else. And this is where ESPN/Chicago Bears insider Courtney Cronin comes in. She was recently on an interview on a Chicago Bears radio show, and she actually hinted on where she believes the Chicago Bears will now go with the number 10 overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. Check this out, Bears fans.
I'm not in the running back camp at 10. I still think that's a pick that you could use to go get Josh Simmons, go get someone else to maybe create some competition at left tackle. Like, if you're thinking about best player available and, fulfilling a need, eventually that spot is going to have to be upgraded. Braxton Jones has had 3 years now, and I think that you have seen what you're going to see with him, and to provide some competition for training camp, like, that is I think a really good use of that number 10 overall pick. But if if they fall in love with Ashton Jeanty, could that be an option? Maybe. I still think the running back depth, though, is so good in this draft class that you don't have to use a first-round pick on a player of that caliber. I mean, unless they're enamored and this guy is your generational talent, and he's going to be, to give Ben Johnson what he needs in the run game, what he had with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, I still think you can find really good quality at running back on day two in round 2 or 3.
Bears fans, this is really interesting. And Courtney Cronin isn't the first insider/analyst to actually talk about this. And this is actually something that's been picking up steam over the last couple of weeks in terms of going into the offseason in regard to the Chicago Bears and Braxton Jones. Actually, color analyst of the Chicago Bears, Tom Thayer, also mentioned this about Braxton Jones as well, along with insider Matt Lombardo as well. So this has been a topic of conversation amongst analysts, insiders, and Bears fans all over the world in regard to Braxton Jones. And don't forget, at the NFL Combine, General Manager Ryan Poles made it very clear that one of the missions going into the offseason was to possibly find some competition at left tackle for Braxton Jones. So let's go ahead and take a little inside look at Braxton Jones. Of course, he is 25 years old. He was drafted in the 5th round of the 2022 NFL Draft, played all 17 games his rookie year, was actually named to the PFWA All-Rookie team in his rookie year with the Chicago Bears. Then in 2023 and 24, he dealt with many different injuries and missed 11 total games, obviously with that broken ankle/leg, dealt with some concussion issues as well. But prior to getting hurt, and we're just looking at the 2024 Braxton Jones stats, he posted a 77.4 overall grade, a 80.8 pass blocking grade, a 70.2 run blocking grade, while only allowing 5 sacks, 2 quarterback hits, and 26 total pressures. Obviously, once again, he missed a couple of games, but to me, those stats are definitely not bad for Braxton Jones. And here's the thing that we really have to realize when we're looking at a guy like Braxton Jones. I don't think anyone is debating or arguing that Braxton Jones is a terrible player. I think he is actually a pretty decent player. The question we have to ask ourselves, and I'm pretty sure Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears are asking those same questions inside Hallis Hall. Do they view Braxton Jones as an elite left tackle prospect that can truly protect Caleb Williams on the left side of that offensive line? Of course, bringing in a guy like Joe Thuney playing left guard right by Braxton Jones could actually help elevate Braxton Jones' play. But I think the discussion that we've been having, and I think all Bears fans can kind of agree on the same topic in regard to Braxton Jones, is that no one really views Braxton Jones as an elite left tackle prospect in the National Football League. Once again, he's good, he's serviceable, but he's not an elite prospect in the National Football League, right? So now we have to start asking ourselves, I think it may be smart, just like Ryan Poles' idea, dating back to NFL Combine, that it may be smart to bring in some high-level competition for Braxton Jones. So that's why in the interview that Courtney Cronin just did with the Chicago Bears radio station, she mentioned that with the number 10 overall pick, it may be smart for the Chicago Bears to invest in a left tackle of the future that can provide competition for Braxton Jones. Some names that come to mind in the 2025 NFL draft is, of course, Armand Membu out of Missouri. He's kind of rising up the draft boards. Will Campbell out of LSU. And, of course, Josh Simmons out of Ohio State. And, of course, you guys actually heard Courtney Cronin mention that name. The interesting part about this list, and there's obviously a lot more guys in the NFL draft that the Chicago Bears can consider, you would probably be able to trade down from number 10 overall, collect some draft capital, and still land guys like Armand Membu or Josh Simmons. Of course, I kind of view Josh Simmons as the most realistic options in terms of being a left tackle in the National Football League. Of course, a lot of draft analysts believe that Will Campbell will translate to guard in the National Football League. And then Armand Membu, it's kind of 50-50. There's some analysts out there saying that he could possibly play left tackle, but there's also a lot of analysts saying that he's probably also going to be a guard. But if you're looking for a pure left tackle in this year's NFL draft, you're probably looking at Josh Simmons. The thing about Josh Simmons is that he does have an injury history, and that's why he is probably not going to be a top 10 pick. If Josh Simmons never got injured at Ohio State, he would have been a certified top 10 pick. So if we trade back from number 10 overall, you land Josh Simmons, left tackle out of Ohio State, you bring him in to compete with Braxton Jones. And of course, this means if you're going to draft Josh Simmons in the first round, the plan would probably be that Josh Simmons or Armand Membu or Will Campbell would be your future starter at left tackle. And here's the thing. This is nothing against Braxton Jones, but you have to consider that he's 25 years old. He has an injury history, right? You kind of know what you're getting out of him now. Has always struggled against the strong bull rushers and just hasn't really elevated his game. And even when he was injured with those concussions and came back, his play kind of plateaued. And once again, the PFF numbers look good. Obviously, the stats look good, but with the injury history and then the idea that this is the last year on his rookie contract when we're talking about Braxton Jones, and just think about what these left tackles were getting even in this year's free agency. Dan Moore Jr., a decent left tackle, right? Currently, I believe, of the Pittsburgh Steelers, cashed in on a $21 million per year deal. So you can only imagine if the Chicago Bears decide that, hey, Braxton Jones is the guy, even though they probably believe that he's just a decent or good left tackle, that you're going to have to probably pay him $20+ million per year as soon as next year. So to me, I think Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears, their next mission is to go out and find some high-level competition for Braxton Jones, because there's a lot of people out there, including myself, that view that if you can get the left tackle figured out, you now have bolstered your offensive line at every single category. The interior, of course, Darnell Wright is expected to take another jump at right tackle. Right now, everyone is kind of just looking at Braxton Jones as the weak link of this Chicago Bears offensive line. So expect the Chicago Bears to find some sort of competition for Braxton Jones. I'm not sure if the best case scenario is to use a first round pick on a left tackle, because if you're going to spend a first round pick on a left tackle, that's not really competition to me. You are considering them as a long-term option at left tackle. So we'll see what Ryan Poles does. Let me know how you guys are feeling on this topic of Braxton Jones. Do you think Jones is a good left tackle and we can move forward? Or do you want to see Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears bring in some competition at that left tackle spot here in Chicago? Before I let you guys go on today's episode of Keek on the Mic, I also want to talk about one player that the Chicago Bears could possibly be interested in as these next couple of weeks go by in free agency. Currently, the Chicago Bears now have around $37.7 million in cap space, even after all the moves that they have made. Of course, they will continue to sign their own free agents. I expect Kyler Gordon to also get a massive contract extension as well. But one player that I feel makes a lot of sense for the Chicago Bears in these next couple of weeks is going out and signing wide receiver Tim Patrick to be your wide receiver 3 on this roster. When you think about Tim Patrick, he is 31 years old, 6'4", 212 pounds, played last year under Ben Johnson with the Detroit Lions. Obviously has dealt with some big injury history while with the Denver Broncos, but to me had a really nice bounce back year under Ben Johnson with the Detroit Lions. Had 33 catches on 45 targets, 394 yards, and 3 total touchdown receptions. Another thing I really like about Tim Patrick, he is a willing and solid blocker, especially in the run game. And of course, we've heard Ben Johnson say before, hey, if you want the rock, you have to block. And that's something that Tim Patrick has been really, really good and excelled at during his NFL career. So I think Tim Patrick could be a really solid wide receiver 3 right behind Rome Odunze and DJ Moore. And once again, that familiarity that Ben Johnson already has with Tim Patrick. And you have to understand that Tim Patrick is finally going in to his first offseason in a very long time, basically fully healthy. So we could possibly see a very motivated and different Tim Patrick going into the season. So I think the Chicago Bears can definitely take that risk. I think it's going to be a low risk, high reward type of move here in Chicago, but I think he can add a lot of benefits to the Chicago Bears offense. And once again, just give Caleb Williams yet another weapon to throw to, being a dependable receiver over his career. But despite the injuries, I think he could be a solid upgrade here in Chicago. So Bears fans, would you like to see Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears go out and sign Tim Patrick to a 1-year, pretty cheap vet minimum deal and bring him here to Chicago? Let me know down below in the comment section. But as always, Bears fans, make sure you guys continue to hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Keek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, be back for all new Bears podcasts right here on Keek on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and as always, bear down.
You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the Mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the Mic. You can go and subscribe, cause I be on it right. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the Mic.